Greetings, everybody. Welcome back. Roll that train a little bit so we can do a proper intro.
Because, episodes are
Welcome
released
back, everybody.
episodically.
That's how episodes work.
I was going to say.
I'm waiting for Nigel to say greetings, everybody, a fourth time in Twitch when he does it. So,
Yeah. Can do it.
He's going to kill us.
Is it safe?
Yes.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome back once again. We are here to round out our evening and continue on our discussion about our top 3 picks and how it has changed since 3 years ago almost when we first rolled this channel out. So to keep the train of roll here, Dennis with his number 2.
All right. 2 years ago, like I was saying, he'll probably edit it out, but we were live, so you already know. It was the Sleesh Bowie, because it should be. That should be someone's number 2 pick, right? Like it's in all justified answers.
Number 2 is the wrong answer.
I threw out Instagram posts and the Bowie came up repetitively. I sent Joe this picture because it's just pretty as hell with the autumn leaves. Because that's what you do, Paul, when you get a sway back and a Marcin Sleesh design is you put it up in the pretty leaves. That was partially the reason I had to send it to Joe over the break. Is because I had
nice color contrast against the oranges. It pops so well.
It's really zoom back and take it all in there.
Joe, there's the full picture, unedited, not cropped. You got the nice greens of the evergreen behind. You have the nice browns and whites of the bark.
It's beautiful.
Playing off the handle of the knife. You've got the flashy orange of the leaves, man. The leaves.
I took that picture, but I took it with my penguin.
That doesn't count.
The techno deserves a better shot, let alone your sway back. Anyway. So this year's pick, actually, got away from Marcin Sleesh design. The hype behind it compared to the actual design itself and the evolution of just manufacturing at its finest. You can take that knife apart a million times. You can put it back together a million times. As long as you still have all the same pieces, it's pretty hard to mess that knife up. It's rock solid, no blade play over and over and over again, Sabenza style consistency. But recently I got a new knife that's well worth talking about that takes that manufacturing to another level, and it's the Javo Rhino. It's the Pena X series.
Yeah.
You want to talk about just a work of craftsmanship.
And as far as talking about an evolution, that, like, in my mind, that thing is an evolution of Spidey.
Yeah, it's a direct linear move from this to this. They're not the same, but there's definitely a lot of design language that's similar.
It's an homage to a titanium frame lock and what the potential of what a high-end frame lock could be between one and another, for sure. But for me, a lot of it has to do with the sentimentality of like Jared himself and knowing him as a man and knowing, like, seeing prototypes of this getting made in the history. The sentimentality of that knife actually became a reality when I was looking at my collection as a whole. And of course, Jared commented in the Instagram post, and the Rhino was his number 1 pick. Strangely enough, his other 2 picks were assisted opening knives, which I thought were super, super funny for a guy who designs just crazy designs on a regular basis, right?
Yep.
But the evolution of this knife, as far as Jared as a designer, and the evolution of myself is where I've become as a collector. It actually has some parallels that I really appreciate. This knife being a crossroads of those evolutions, right? So
it's the addition of speed holes. That's what did it.
You know, those sweet pivot colors and the right hand only carry is what really sold me. For the record, I gave this a 3 on Pocket Ergos when we had to score this damn knife. But
but it is a gorgeous piece, and it kind of does talk a bit about what you have become as a collector. I mean,
really the example of what something can be. right? And that's what the Sleesh Bowie was at the time.
Yeah.
And people talk about the hype and the resale value of what the Bowie is now compared to what this is. This doesn't have any more resale value than what you paid into it right now at this point in time for this particular knife. But it means a lot more to me because of the history of the knife world and how I'm connected to it. So I think that's a big reason of why this one scored number 2 is, yeah.
This probably isn't something you're going to part with in the foreseeable future.
No, like I said, this one has sentimental meaning to me because of the background of this knife. Yeah, for sure. So anyway, on to number 2, because we're rambling and I'm going to get all teary and choke up here in a second thinking about, anyway.
Yeah. To my pick then, I guess. What was my pick from last time for the second?
You, sir, picked the Makusta as your number 2.
Yeah, I was going to say. The
Monkey fist and all.
Makusta. Yeah. So, main reason why this guy wasn't a contention anymore is the carryability of it. No pocket clip, and I did put on a nice lanyard with a little monkey fist ball there that I had been like tucking into the belt loop and stuff. But even then, it's a little awkward, a little annoying to carry. So, as much as I love the classiness and the style of it, it wasn't even in the contention this year. What actually did come in was something that we've talked about throughout the night about the fizz factor. The bailout.
Snap diggity.
Yup.
Snap diggity.
Yup. Like the original one with the Velox handles, having held that guy and whatnot, I did not think I was ever going to own a bailout. And then when the thing came into the shop, I bought it that same day.
Amazing how that happens, hey? Amazing how quickly you're willing to spend a couple $100 on a... Yeah.
And as far as like the progression of how I sorted things out, I was kind of talking about how the Mini Super Freak was my classy suit option, and then I was progressing into the more beefy, tanky, abusable, hard style stuff. This guy is a nice in-between ground, the nice, light, thin. The color and the style of it is still very, very classy looking, but with the aluminum handles and the amber steel in it, it is still a tank of a knife. It's still a workhorse. It can get some work done for sure.
Yeah, you can work with that thing. Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the bailout is a fantastic choice. And I mean, again, the evolution of you as far as a person, the Makusta. I mean, even knowing you 3 years ago, the Makusta fits your personality so much more, and the bailout fits your personality so much more 3 years ago, like today, the modern you, the practicality of it, the usefulness of it, And
it's so funny. I never would have imagined Nigel taking home a Tonto, but
yeah.
And yet,
on the note of how Dennis was mentioning the practicality of it, is it might just be because of my hand size, but I can get my right into that crook there with the main finger choil and use that tip, and it's like a pencil. It's so nice for doing utility work, craft work. If I have to score a line, do any marking work, I'm loving that.
You've mentioned a few times the utilitarian nature of that particular Tonto tip, and it's just awesome that you can get that utility out of an M4 blade. Just stars aligning, right? That's awesome.
Even with my hands, you can do that, and I really enjoy it.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's your number 2. Interesting evolution. Now, the other thing I will like to mention, and especially when you were talking about pocket ergos and things like that, it kind of came up in my mind that 3 years ago, we didn't have a grading system. And when you're talking about pocket ergos, how much of our choices now are we looking at the high scoring knives that we put in our collection and things like that we just kind of fell in love with when we did it? And part of that is us looking at that knife in all of the aspects other than just the aesthetics and the style, which comes into play, right?
Trying to be a little bit more critical about your own choices is definitely something you have to learn over time. And I think I like to think we're doing a better job of it now than we were 3 years ago, but...
Oh, I still get caught up in shit and have to buy a mini Adamas. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And we'll see if the fizz lasts, but I think it will, but yeah. Anyway, continue on.
Yeah.
Who was up next for their number one pick?
So I remembered the order as well because it's silly. It's definitely Joe. Is the number one pick, and then it's actually Paul, and then it's Nigel, and then I'm actually last.
So, my number one pick last year, and it was the only knife we haven't talked about so far, but I believe that was the Phoenix, wasn't it?
Your number one,
or am I misremembering?
Your number two pick. I'm sorry, I screwed up. Your number two pick was a Phoenix.
Oh, fair enough.
Your number one pick was a Sabenza.
Right. Okay. Well, that's okay.
Take a flip. You've ruined it.
That's okay. That's
kill
okay.
The stream now.
That's okay because this was going to still be in the lineup this week, but this edged it out for the reasons I already discussed. So instead of the Phoenix, I thought about my top pick. What is a knife? It's something that I'm going to be using for cutting. What is the sliciest thing that I have that is the most comfortable to hold and use that's going to hold the edge the longest time with the best heat treatment I can think of? I actually ended up choosing my Spyderco Military with S110V for my number one pick. This actually edged out my Native with S90V, but by a little bit of a margin there. I can do all the work I want.
Upset City. City. Two Spydercos and not a Sabenza.
Two Spydercos and not. I know I'm gonna piss Fisk off with this, and I'm sorry about that, but this ended up winning out. The thing that changed it for me, a couple weeks ago, I was cutting open. I can't even remember, some sort of package over top of a stove, over a stovetop. I dropped my knife, tipped down onto the glass surface. Despite everything I've heard about S110V being chippy, after like the 2.5-3 foot drop, my tip on this knife was totally fine. There was a bit of a rolled edge, and I was able to basically force it back with a piece of hardened steel. This knife is stupid comfortable for me in the hand. It feels great. I love carrying it. I love using it. This has been in my back pocket basically since I bought it. The Military is a platform I've always admired. Far more so than the PM2. All you haters out there. Yeah, I see you, Paul.
I agree. The Military is a nicer knife ergonomically.
But in terms of cutting performance, I know that S90V on paper is supposed to be better, but from what's in my collection right now, like, would I prefer this in S90? Maybe, but for what I have, the S110 performs just fine. It's purple as well, so it has that going for it. It's different than the all black stuff I normally have. But if I want to be able to cut stuff and to keep cutting stuff for a long period of time, it's hard to not choose something that's going to be this efficient at that particular task, cutting.
There is something to be said for that. We should keep the train rolling. Paul's next, but while Paul's doing that, can you look up the Giltech Ruck in the comments? Because I'm super curious. John from Mississauga said that was number 3.
Tech is number 1. Ruck is number 2.
Nope.
Number 2 is the Smock, and number 1 is the Large and Cozy. Number 2 is the Smock.
Okay, never mind. I was reading wrong. So yes, you are correct there. Yeah,
that's okay.
Okay.
Giltech. That's just RUC? Okay.
RUC. Paul, you're...
I'm number one. Number 1 has to come up.
So
I have to quickly do a thing.
If I didn't get this wrong, 2 years ago, your number 1 was the 452.
Yeah.
The ZT.
Yeah. That's still a good choice. It actually kind of hurts me that it's not in this list because it's still a great knife.
Not even in the top 3. Not even.
Not in the top 3 by a fairly large margin, if I'm being completely honest. But what is number 1, and it shouldn't be that much of a surprise, is the Gold Class Bug Out. Because it's a Gold Class Bug Out, and it does that.
Mm-hmm. It sure does.
Yeah.
That is a thing that it does.
I see what you're saying.
Yep.
If I'm gonna have to, like, don't get me wrong, I could gentleman carry the anthem any day of the week. But if I'm going to gentleman carry something, it's gonna be this.
Oh yeah.
Like, if I'm wearing a suit, the bug out's coming out. And if something needs to be cut, it's gonna get cut.
Mm-hmm.
Which means
As
I'm
it
never gonna
should.
carry it. Because I don't want to cut things with it.
Damasteel's not that hard to
Your
resharpen.
shit.
I wonder who that handle was, I tell you.
Given that it's by far the most expensive knife in your collection, is it any wonder that it's your top pick? Do you think there's a bit of not guilt, but like obligation laid in there that makes you give that the number one position? Was there anything else that even came close?
So the thought immediately was, well, the obvious answer is it has to be the gold class. And it was just an easy answer to then not have to think about struggling with number one. I know Dennis said earlier that picking his number one choice was very difficult. It wasn't for me. Picking my number three choice, that was the hard one. Because I have 3 freaking cases over here, and everything was in contention for it. But
fair.
I will refer you back to my Instagram post today. As far as hard choices goes, yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
But take into account that I had maybe 4 fancy knives 3 years ago.
Yeah. It's gone on leaps and bounds, for sure.
Speaking of evolution, yeah. Quite a bit of movement.
It glows in the dark, and that makes me happy on a level that I can only describe as infantile.
Well, I was just going to say, we go on about how classy this knife is, and then we mention that it glows in the dark.
It can be two
Only
things.
with like knives and watches can you talk about like the classiness of a pocketable item that then glows in the dark.
It's got some good loom.
Yeah. I'm not making fun of you. I really do think that like it's a classy as hell knife, but
I'm really disappointed now that I didn't send some pictures that I took of it like in complete darkness while it was glowing because it looks insane.
That's one of my favorite things about the JEC that I own is just like how bright it can glow like when there's pitch black. But yeah. Anyway, number ones. We're gonna keep this train rolling.
Yeah,
the layers glow.
They do.
Nigel, you were last on the number ones.
Cool. What was it last time?
2 years ago, you were the SHOT Show sequel was the number one, and rightfully so. Jesus Christ, that should be in everyone's. Yeah, it should be in mine, and it's not. It deserves to be in mine, and it's not. But anyway.
Yeah. It did not get into it this year, unfortunately, because it is such a nice knife. But what did end up coming into this year, and as I mentioned throughout the show here, is going from kind of ultimately carry to the harder use sort of stuff. And they've been grabbing out of my collection most lately, I find, as far as like a tanky option, my SHOT Show Presidio.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Option.
Very nice.
Number 160 out of 1,000 in M4. Yeah.
Yep, 160.
60, you say?
That's a pretty solid option, my friend.
Oh.
Yeah.
I have quite the number. Anyway, I'll just put that down.
Been really enjoying the blade shape. It's not really reminiscent of that guy, but yeah, really enjoyed the blade shape. It's comfy, just squeezes into the 4-finger grip for me. Nice action. I've been finding I really enjoy aluminum handles.
One may or may not compare it to the new Mini Adamas that came out, or Adamas, or Ademus, or whatever you want.
I had a hard time throwing the Adamas into the rain, just because I've like technically only owned it for 1 day.
The honeymoon
But talk to
factor.
us again, and talk to us. Well, I haven't had a chance to use it and see how it grows and stuff like that as far as if it's in the favorites. I can tell you for sure it is going to get a lot of pocket time and a very high chance it will replace the Presidio in that sort of a capacity.
Wow.
For sure.
That is some high fucking praise, considering the Presidio was your number one pick. Holy shit.
The
Yeah.
The Adamas beat out a lot of knives in the post that I put up.
That's insanity.
Yeah, when I was, and the only reason it didn't is because of the same boat that Nigel says, is because of what I called the honeymoon phase. I can't rightfully put it in the number one category until it gets through a honeymoon phase, and I can say, no, that is where it belongs, type of thing, right? So, having said that, that actually leads me. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, as far as evolution of what I've been enjoying lately and stuff like that, it's definitely getting dialed into a specific size range.
and or company or brand.
I like barrel spacers.
Yeah, and barrel spacers.
Well, it's always been Benchmade. Like, I've definitely always leaned towards Benchmade, just access lock, the ambidexterity of it, left-handed and stuff like that. Back when we did the original one, I can't say, like, I don't remember what the ratio is now, or what the ratio was back then, but nowadays, definitely like 60% of my collection is Benchmade stuff.
Dang.
Yeah. Out of the four that you had, because we had an honorable mention last or 3 years ago as well, only one was a Benchmade. But yeah, it's interesting to see where that's come for sure. But again, where your own collection has gone. And we will note as well, one of the things that I led me into wanting to do this episode again is the fact that Nigel broke out his SHOT Show stuff as EDC collection.
Yep.
So as soon as I thought about that, I was like, this is a great time to reevaluate where we sit on favorite knives of all time.
Back in the original one of these episodes, I did throw out the SHOT Show sequel, but that was a very rare carry. It was really only if I dressed up. It wasn't an EDC option at that time, but no holds bar anymore. All my SHOT Shows are EDC carryable, and I've used them a lot and definitely done things to hamper their resale value, because that's punches through the downspout very nicely.
Yeah.
That it does make me happy to hear that you're using your SHOT Show stuff, though. It really does.
Yep.
That friggin' sequel is so goddamn pretty. It physically hurts my feelings.
As it should.
It really is. The other thing I'll mention is 3 years ago when we did this as well, you also said that this was 3 folders for the rest of your life, and we were still considering fixed blades as an option. And being that we all have fixed blades that you can also pound on, you lent towards more of the gentlemanly carry style options, which is why you went with 3 smaller knives, 3 more gentlemanly knives, which again, nowadays, if we are going out, but we don't go out very often anymore. COVID times, the only times we do go out is to the woods, where you want a knife like the SHOT Show Presidio.
That being said, my honorable mention last time was the 456. So I definitely had a tanky option. Yep, definitely had a tanky option in the mix there. And that's a nice segue to jump into what our honorable mentions this year were.
Wait a fucking second here, you son of a bitch. What's my number 1? Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
I tried to segue and we got... No, I tried to segue and you brought us back to your
pretty funny.
Different outlook from gentlemanly to tankier, more barrel spacers, blah, blah, blah.
So,
what is my number 1? Huh? You know. Let's go into honorable mentions, you son of a... No, just kidding.
Oh.
My number 1 is actually a shocker. 2 years ago, and it should be, is the 941. I still talk about it being the greatest knife of all time. It deserves to be in the category of where it deserves to be. But evolution has come and gone, my friend. and it's no longer in the number 1. It's not even in the number 3. I love this knife, and I'll still say if you could get only one good knife, I'll recommend the 940 in some variation till the day I die. But part of me evolving is I like to be stuck on tradition. I could have walked in here with all 3 answers the same, and none of you guys would have been surprised at a Sledge Bowie, a 941, a Contigo for all 3 knives, right?
Yep.
But one of the things that the 941 has that I like for is thin in the pocket, carries really awesome, cuts like a beast, doesn't take up a lot of space, almost a gentlemanly folder as well as a hard use folder, kind of all in one. And that's what I loved about the 940. And that's why, as funny as it may sound, my number 1 overall is my reground bailout.
I hate that that's the choice, but at the same time, I totally understand it.
And I love the fact that Nigel's bailout was his number 2 choice, but in particular, I love the fact that it is my reground. If I bought a Tanto, I would instantly regrind it a second time and a third time and a fourth time to make it what it is right now.
You are such...
About it. Somebody's going to make an Instagram page about it or something.
You'd think that someone would make an Instagram page about, like, look at that beautiful photo. I hope it probably gets forwarded to whoever's running that page so they can repost a second photo for 3 times in a row.
Regardless as to whether that happens or not, you love your M4.
I love my M4.
It's
that's
appeared
one of the reasons that this
twice.
comes in. Yeah,
twice in your new lineup has M4 arrived. So maybe you should explain what the different use case between those 2 knives, because
you can do it toothy and you can do it polished. So in case I want it toothy, and
Nigel as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you had a bailout and a Presidio. The Presidio kind of came out of left field on that one. I got to be honest, as being your number 1. Yeah, but I don't think anyone expected my bailout to become number 1.
No,
I've talked about it jokingly, but honestly, it fills exactly the category that made the 941 a number 1 pick. It really does. It fits every single box that made that one a number 1. This fits every box as well, but also has my favorite steel. And don't get me wrong, S90 is awesome, but S90 needs to be in a thinner platform like the Bug Out, which I'm going to blade swap with Justin. Infinite Gunworks, we're going to talk in 90 some odd days when the aluminum one comes out, let me tell you.
TikTok.
And maybe next year my opinion will be different, like the Adamas is different for Nigel. We'll see.
I'm not going to ask it. I'm going to ask it next week.
No, what are you going to ask right now? Come on. We got time. We got 8 minutes to kill.
We got a little bit more than 8 minutes, but yeah.
The question I have for you is in regards to M4.
Yeah.
And a recent video that Pete from Central Canada posted about doing a grind on one side and a coarser grind on the other. And are you going to experiment with that with your M4 at all?
Not with this particular knife, but he also had other steels where he got good performance out of that. He also did an M390 or a 20CV or something where he had really good performance like that as well. So between all the knives that I have, I've actually already thought about it. I don't think the bailout or even the reground bailout is going to be the knife I do it with. But
I was more thinking the Contigo.
Maybe my second Contigo, because you always need a backup. And I hate the fact that it needs to be number 3 on that. But yeah. Speaking of which, we've got more than like 7 or 8 minutes, but we also have an honorable mentions that we kind of threw out there last minute. But
yes,
Paul, you were going to say something as well.
I was just going to say you need to resharpen both. One, however you want to do it, and then the other one, both sharp like grinds.
Yes.
And then compare and contrast until they see which one goes dull first.
I would be very interested in hearing the results of such a test.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that as well. Before we go into honorable mentions, I didn't mention it before, but I did post this up on Instagram. I had some awesome responses and some really surprising responses, but John Nickerson, he's with us tonight in the chat, had his top 3 answers. He's not on Instagram, so I'd love to hear what his top 3 is. While we're waiting for what John posts as his top 3, I will also say something that made me quite surprised is the amount that the Kelly 3 came up in people's top 3 choices.
Huh.
Carbon fiber ZDP, where is that little son of a bitch that I like carry every 3 months? It probably shouldn't even be in my EDC rotation. Yeah, beautiful knife. Don't get me wrong. For what it is, for a dress knife, and you want to have a Spyderco that's a classier knife, it really fits that old school, early 2000s, even 90s category. Even though I think mine was probably made in like 2012. Anyway. Even still, it fits that perfect niche, but that was the big shocker for me, was how much this knife came up in people's top 3. I'll also call out Mr. Fisk throwing out a mini H&K in his top 3 for my answers, because damn Skippy, this knife is sweet. I don't think it deserves top 3. Anyway, continue on. Honorable mentions while we're waiting for John?
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Who was up first for those?
Oh, I don't even remember. Hang on a second. I imagine it would be me, because we went in reverse order the one way, so it would be reverse order the other way, I would think.
Would make sense.
But we were all over the map 3 years ago. You should have heard the audio. Jesus Christ.
We didn't even have a proper mic yet. That was just like the camera mic.
That was just like us recording into a cell phone. Yeah.
You got to trick them into going back and watching it.
So my honorable mention, actually, 2 years ago, and Paul was making fun of me about this, was actually my mini skirmish.
You did send me a picture of that. Yeah.
Really, it really spoke to kind of me being introduced to the knife world. And as many flaws as it may have, it was really one of those like high precision knives. At the time, Chris Reeves were still S30 titanium frame locks. It just had a little more pizzazz to it. And so, it's always been kind of one of those sweet spot knives for me. This year, 2 years later, as far as what deserves to be in the top 3, it didn't change. It's the goddamn mini skirmish. It's what deserves to be as an honorable mention. It deserves to be in my top 3 because I am who I am, for no other reason that's the reason. But functionality kicks it out of the top 3, and it always deserves to be who I am as a knife person, is this knife right here. As much as my dad says the Buck 110 until the day he dies, like I said, I'll get all teary-eyed and shit. This knife, it is really the Buck 110 in my life, and it always will be. So, yeah.
That is fair.
And
Can't fault you for that.
It's got speed holes. And it wasn't designed by Howard Vale to put speed holes in the blade or Spyderco. And it's got way too many speed holes. It'll break under hard use. I won't baton it like I plan on the Adamas.
Oh, brutal.
Like,
that's funny.
Seriously, I love it. I honestly, it's, It's the fizz like a Contigo 4-year-old kid fizz, like the glow-in-the-dark bug-out fizz. The skirmish always kind of will give me the fizz. Yeah, so.
I will say this. The handle is good looking. That blade needs some work.
You shut your face.
Dude,
with my right hand tip down only carry.
I like
two of my knives this year were right hand only.
I like some of this hideous shit. I mean, this knife is the blade.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you ever see those
Just a second, I'll be right back.
Oh, he's dealing with rice apparently.
Yep. Carry your thought on there, Joe.
Oh, just that the blade on this thing reminds me of like some anime monster where it has too many eyes. That's kind of what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
It reminds me of your Phoenix.
But they're all chamfered. Well, at least with the Phoenix, at least with this, it's chamfered.
That's fine, Joe. That's fine. That's fine. We're trying to keep it going.
No. Well, just stalling for until he comes back. Yeah.
We don't have to stall shit. Someone else could even go.
Who's up? Who is up next? Sure. Who is up next?
Exactly.
That's
what I was trying to get to. I was up next.
Paul. Oh,
backwards.
Yeah.
No, if we did reverse order me, because I accidentally thought I was last, then So,
correct, sir. Correct.
Like I kind of hinted at there, that the MIDI Adamas was very, very close to getting into contention against the Presidio, but I couldn't justify it being in there because it was too new and stuff like that. And that is the same, unfortunately, for the honorable mention. So it's not the Mini Adamas. It's the next one that I had the toughest struggle with, and it was actually in last year's picks.
Yeah, that deserves
an honorable mention. Sequel.
Not the wrong choice.
Yeah,
Such a
it
nice
is.
knife.
Yep.
I wish I had a picture of
It
it. here to
was
throw up,
such a
but yeah.
tough choice for a classy sort of suit carry option between these two. And for the ergonomics and how it fits in my hand, the mini bug out or the mini super freak one out over the SHOT Show sequel, but damn, that is a pretty knife. I loves it.
It's painfully good looking.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculously good looking, and I hope he has a Ben Stiller quote up on that from, is it Zoolander?
Really ridiculously good looking.
I think so.
Yeah, I'll find it.
Yeah.
Next honorable mention.
It deserves that honorable mention. It really does. That would have been, I don't even know. Paul.
Joe
Paul. Good old Joe Paul.
Joe Paul.
Saying good night from one of those old timey shows. Good night, Joe Paul.
Good night, Betty Ann.
All right, I guess I'll
Joe
go.
Paul. Not Paul Joe.
I hate that. Paul Joe.
You
I don't
should.
like that at all. All the Paul Joes in the world are gonna hate on me now, but
All the
sorry,
Paul
your name
Joes.
sucks.
All three of them.
You guys should do a knife collaboration. That should be the name of it, is the Paul Joe.
I'm cool with it.
The Paul Joe, brought to you by Joe Paul.
Awesome. Anyway.
I'm gonna go die in that corner.
Yeah. My soul has left my body.
Oh,
On that
God.
note, for my honorable mention, this was a very hard choice for me. There are many knives that were beat out of spot 3 that I really wanted to put into spot number 4, which I'm kind of calling this honorable mention, spot number 4. And it's my freaking rustic gent.
Damn Skippy it is.
It's
It's
a great knife. And it costs nothing compared to silly things in my collection. And it brings me at least as much joy. And I can actually carry it and use it and enjoy it.
This is true.
I'm really looking forward to scoring one of those Appalachian drifters. It's
it comes with a little slip and it slides right in there nice and easy.
Yeah, it does.
It's great. Buy one. Buy one now.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
It sure is.
And then Joe.
Yeah.
Okay, just for the record, we didn't say what your honorable mention was 3 years ago there, Paul.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, pull her out. Pull her out. I say that as dirty as possible because you know what knife it is. And it's really appropriate when I say pull it out because it's Big Red. It's good old Big Red.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Oh, yeah. The Red Rocket.
Oh.
This thing's great.
Don't
equate it to dog dicks. That's weird.
Left a sour taste in my mouth.
Hey, if you're equating dog dicks, that's your fault. I'm calling the Big Red Knife bucket.
This knife is this smooth. Come on, do it. There you go. On Teflon.
Yeah, damn Skippy it is. There was one of the Instagram comments was talking about my SR2 as one of their top 3 picks, and it's also a pretty sweet knife. That's why I still EDC. It's just unique, right? That knife's just unique.
CRKT and Lion Steel, they're doing something right with that Teflon, man.
Last but not least, Joe.
No.
Honorable mention.
One quick thing.
No, go.
With the SR1, it's a knife that I will occasionally carry throughout the year, once or twice, maybe 4 or 5 times. But for the month of December, it's consistently in my pocket. It is my Christmas knife because it is Christmas red.
That's fair.
Sorry, Joe. Your turn.
It's all good.
I also have Christmas green, and quite often we will wear them together, and it makes us both chuckle because it's like pocket festivity.
I'll hear them giggle from across the shop. Ooh, we're Christmas.
Anyway,
and that's how I know it's snowing outside. Yeah, my honorable mention also rides on Teflon washers, and it was also one of my top 3 from the last time we did this, almost 3 years ago. It's the Phoenix. It's the reason I got into collecting.
Okay, just for the record, your honorable mention last year was your Emerson 630.
Yes,
620?
or 620.
620.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's an Emerson,
and it was funny because that it's an Emerson made by ZT, so it's an Emerson worth owning. But anyway, that particular knife almost made it into the top 3, but I think this still outranks it for the honorable mention because of sort of the sentimentality reasons that you had talked about, what it means to you to have that. Of what is that monstrosity called again? The titanium.
Screw you, hippie. Screw you.
Skirmish.
You remember the Phoenix from how and you don't remember the mini skirmish? The mini skirmish was worth a gold class. Look at the sprint run your Phoenix came out with and tell me that they would compare.
I'm not looking at it because I don't want to cry. But yeah, no, seriously, this was the first knife I saw where I was like, that's fucked up and I want it. It was a long while ago, and the love for this knife just hasn't diminished over time. Yeah, it's still VG10. It's not the best steel on the market, but it's probably one of the very few knives that I would never get rid of voluntarily. I'd have to be in a pretty sore spot to want to get rid of it. Yeah. So that's my honorable there.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm actually glad we did this as a topic. It was fun, even though it took 2 episodes. I'm glad we relived it after 3 years because we had some fun, fancy stuff. I think last time we dabbled on something about favorites in other people's collections, but I don't think we have time for that. I think that's worth a whole nother episode somewhere along the way. So,
yeah. I mean,
I figure as we close out and round off here, we should show off our picks there.
Gratuitous knife picks.
Gratuitous. Let me just put these into my hands in a way where I don't cut the shit out of myself.
Nigel with his XL was like all ready for that shit. There you go.
Yeah. Got to do it all in one hand, Paul. Come on.
No.
Quit.
These things are sharp.
Quit fucking around. I've got
want to cut my fingies off.
I've got a hollow ground smock and a goddamn military. Put them all in one hand, you son of a bitch.
Nigel, get some apple pickers.
Nigel,
fine, I'll get it back in there.
I know he did it originally. I
just stabbed myself in the hand. That definitely just happened.
Oh no! Now I actually feel bad.
So, before anyone else actually gets seriously injured, we should probably head it out here. Hold on. Out of our collections.
There were some picks that Dennis was getting done from. Was it John?
We never did get John respond though. He never did.
Yeah. Oh no.
Still hasn't shown up.
Okay.
No.
So unfortunately, I'll get them and maybe we'll post them on the Friday or Sunday episode that we post out. I'll tag him. And we'll go from there. Yeah.
Fair enough.
So yeah, hope you all enjoyed our top picks here. Feel free to share what yours are or share what your opinions of our picks are. We'd love to hear the interaction. And speaking of the interaction, make sure you head on over to our Patreon page to see what sort of exclusive behind-the-scenes content and goodies and stuff like that you can get by donating to our craziness here.
Indeed. And then head on over to the Pokey Factor Instagram and give us a follow. Just please, just make a grown man happy. It's a really easy way to keep up to date on what we're doing, as well as interact with questions that we're posting to our followers. We do that fairly regularly.
And even DMs, questions, ideas, whatever, even on Instagram. Just throw us a topic, idea, comment, whatever, we're more than welcome to entertain anything. I think we're close to 1,000 followers. We keep on hovering, but those Damascus steel knife sellers, they keep on putting us over and putting us under, and we want to make sure.
Oh no, we've not been over.
Well,
no.
We want to make sure that we're all the way over when we get all the way over. It's not just like some trickery going on about selling some sweet Damascus steel. We want to be there for good, right? So.
Indeed.
Once we are,
Indeed.
We'll do another giveaway, and it'll be some other crazy knives.
Yeah.
We both just bought mini Adamises, so there's things that rotated in my collection that I was not expecting. So these things happen.
Fair enough. Yeah. That being that, on the note of the mini Adamas, it's nice. Try and get one if you can. But for now, that's all we've got to say. So this is Nigel Smith signing off.
I am who I am. I'm Dennis Vipers.
I am the Iron Joe.
XL.ca.
We will catch you again next time. See you soon.